Welcome to the Model Rail Replacement Podcast, helping you get to your onward journey. A friendly service that helps you get from A to B, or probably nowhere at all.
Hello and welcome to the Model Rail Replacement Podcast. I'm your host, James, and with me is co-host and producer
Sam. Good morning, everyone.
Hello, Sam. It's another week of MERP. How are you?
You make it sound as if we haven't had a good 45-minute chat where we've both been quite happy about how the podcast is going. You make it sound as if it's dying out. But I mean, detracting from that, I'm very well. I got to run trains this week, James. Got to run them on the layout.
You got to run trains on your layout or someone
Yes,
else?
my
Really?
layout.
Are
Yeah,
they double O gauge scale ones or were they 009 ones?
they
Actually, I
were.
know the answer to this, don't I?
You do. They were double O. So effectively, I cleared off. Next to my desk is where the what will eventually become the next scenic section of my layout, and there were bits of papers and workbooks. So I've got exams coming up for electrical stuff, and I've basically had all of my exam books and stuff strewn across the table, and I decided to, you know what, pack them back into my rucksack so that they're off the board, and I ran some trains. Not just any trains though, James. I did a trade for one of my locos for some other locos, and I got to run the Network Southeast Bachmann Class 159, and it is a beauty.
Yes, it is. I had one of them at one point with sound. It was very nice, by the way. I was quite impressed with the sound as well. Although I remember putting a video, I think maybe on Instagram, and someone put out, you know, that's just in notch one. You've not got it. And I was like, I don't know that because I don't drive them. It's just, how would I know?
Yeah.
I'm just going with the sound file Bachmann gave me. So there we go. Anyway.
Curse them. Curse them all over again.
There we are. I too have been running trains this week in
Ooh.
uh in well in two scales.
Oh, go on. Tease me.
Oh yeah. So firstly, my Cavalex uh Hornby magazine DCR Class 60 arrived after I finally found the invoice buried in my emails. I looked and looked and looked and couldn't find it, and I was like, I'm sure they should have emailed me by now and had to search around. I don't know why it had popped up. So I was late to the party on that one. But my lords, what a lovely loco. So yeah, I've been running that one. More pleasingly was I bought a Bachmann 7F second hand. And you know part of the story. I bought it. I bought it from a particular shop that I know that I should always test the loco the moment it arrives. From previous experience of buying from this shop, usually they're really good, but they don't test their models. So I stupidly left it in the corner for about a month and then got it out and ran it, and it was making a very weird clunking noise. And I was like, oh no. And I've left it too late to send it back. So after this investigation, I tried to work out what the problem was. I found a split gear on the wheels. I just decided to change the wheels, and then the problem continued. And so I had another look, and I eventually realised that the gearing on the housing was actually oval shaped, not round. And so I concluded that that was causing the gears to split. So I had to get another set of wheels, which new housing. I even thought, well, screw it, whilst I'm at it, might as well get a new motor for it. And all of Bachmann spares, it's great. I even have a theory that I reckon you could probably get all the components of Bachmann spares and build a new loco. And I don't know if that would be cheaper than actually buying a loco. It was something that come to my mind. I was like, I wonder if you could do that, and actually just put one together and see if it's actually cheaper than buying a brand new model. But yeah, managed to put it all back together and got it working. No clunking noises, and the 7F runs again. So I was very pleased with that. And then also I finally finished wiring on the 009 board. So we had a little bit of testing in 009 running as well. So it's all been lots of stuff going on this week, I suppose, from my end of things.
I'm that Class 60 looks great. I'm intrigued to see it compared to other ones. I haven't really seen a comparison of the Hornby one versus the Cavalex one, and I know they're going to be very, very different. But I'm so intrigued to see because obviously we were talking about how the price difference isn't is actually more for the Hornby one than it is for the Cavalex one. So I just want to see how much more bang for your buck you're getting for the Cavalex one compared to the Hornby one.
Oh, they're miles apart. I was actually going to look at doing that, but my Hornby 60 is buried away somewhere. I need to find it to do a comparison on it. But I mean, there is no comparison. I don't think. I mean, the looking through the grills and the interior detail of the engine room, what they've modelled, it's just spectacular. I think the best and the comparison I'm looking forward to is comparing it to the Curaçao one. Because the Curaçao one looks just as wonderful. And I think whatever you decide to go with, in particular those two, you're going to be over the moon with your purchase. So yeah, that's the one I'm looking forward to. But we just have to wait and see. 'Cause obviously, the Curaçao ones are a little way off yet. But yeah, it's a good day for modern modelers, I'd say. But yeah, the Horby one, it's not a bad model, but I don't think it holds a candle to the Cavalex and probably won't to the Curaçao either. But we shall see, I suppose. We shall see.
Mm. Yeah, seeing them all on the what's weird. I've seen that. I talked about it previously. The lava, the steel on steel livery one.
Oh yeah.
I've seen so many people with that one, and I'm really surprised because it's not a livery that I think, oh, that's pretty. I think it's interesting. I don't necessarily think that's the livery that has to go on my layout. But that seems to be the one I've seen everybody getting.
It was. Firstly, I think it was because it was the first one to land. I think with rails. I think the others came in a couple of days later, so maybe that was it. Or maybe it's because Francis got one and everyone else had to get one. I don't know. I saw him unboxing his the other day, so who knows? Yeah, I'm not a. I find that vinyl a bit curious, shall we say? It's not my cup of tea, but I've gone for that DC rail grey. I quite like that one, but there we are. Everyone's each their own, I suppose, isn't it? So shall we go to the news?
Yeah. Now you mentioned that what a time to be alive for modern modelers, and today's announcement, I think, is definitely a testament to that.
All I can say is, a Curaçao. It's a time. We've been waiting for this for a long time, haven't we? I think it's been missing for so long. It's the announcement of the Electro Star family coming to double O gauge, starting with the 375 and the 377.
Yes, and I think that's the big part of this is it's the Electrostar family. It's not even just like one of the Electrostars. It's the Electrostar family that they're bringing to the table. And I think, oh, what a great unit to bring there. Obviously, coming from a bias of one of these is a Southern unit, one of them is one that I can still ride on today. Um, yeah, these are I'm speechless because I'm so happy because we spoke in last week's episode about how about this is going to be a big ticket item, but do you know what you can do with this one, James? You can pay in advance.
Yes.
Set yourself
Well,
up a payment plan.
you do. Well, you've got to pay in advance anyway because this is as it stands, is an expression of interest. So if people want these models, they need to. I think it's in conjunction with Rails of Sheffield. Either go over to Curaçao or Rails. It's a £50 deposit, which will be non-refundable if the project goes through. It will be refunded, however, if there is not enough momentum behind it. I can't see there not being enough momentum behind it. I think this is the missing link to Southern Railway Modelling because obviously we discussed about it just before we came on to record. What you model is probably as far as Southern modelers can really go timeline wise. They can't really go any further into the future because the 377 being missing from that OO gauge range just prevents you from doing any Southern location realistically with the correct models, I think, personally. So I think it's a game changer. All of a sudden the South Coast is open up to you for modelling. Um, Obviously they've covered the Thameslink stuff, so you can go from Bedford, Brighton. You've got that area covered. Is it C2C is the other livery? So you've got the east side of London, around Kent area as well.
Yeah.
All of that is now all of a sudden, within reach of being able to be modelled.
Mm. And I don't, I don't know if this is planned. I don't know what the situation is. As a Portsmouth modeler, having the new Bachmann Class 450s in the current livery and because up until a year and a half, 2 years ago, we had the 313s and the 377s running on the southern part for Portsmouth to Brighton, Portsmouth to Victoria. We lost the 313s. They've not been done in model form. But it's that ability of being able to have a 377 heading off to Brighton and a 450 going from Waterloo to Portsmouth. Just sort of, especially for me, being able to model them passing each other on the bridge. I think modeling side of it, it is a good day to be alive, because you've had two units that currently run on the network in that livery, both be announced within the last 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, do you know what? We always get my brother complaining that he never gets invited on the show. This might be his ticket onto the show, because I'm pretty certain he will be buying a Thameslink livery one, just because that's what he used to drive. Of course, he's going to have to fork out a bit of money for it. They're coming in then, price-wise, £499. I think that's without the sound, and £599.99 with sound. But that is a 4-car unit, highly detailed. I mean, this is a Curoscale models. They always put that extra bit of effort in, that high quality. You're getting value for money, in my opinion. It might seem like a big ticket price, but Curoscale's track record, you're not going to be disappointed with these, I don't think.
The CAD images of them look phenomenal. And watching the video, I was just blown away of how much detail they've gone into. I'm really intrigued as to how we've said before, when it comes to multiple units, the coupling between the multiple units is possibly one of the most difficult parts of it, because you can't just pull them apart like you would with a tension lock, or even with magnetic couplings like you would on your other sort of coach stock or your freight stock and stuff like that. So I'm really intrigued. I'm trying not to make it an all about coupling thing again, but I'm so intrigued to see what happens with this, and I'm definitely going to be pre-ordering one of the southern liveried ones. I think the destination blinds on it are to Brighton, which is great for me. But I did say to James before we started recording, they're doing the first batch as the 375s, 377s, but they're also going to be doing the other types of the Electro style, where you're going to be able to get the likes of the GWR one, which, if I wasn't a southern boy and the southern ones ran exactly where I live and model, I would probably be going for the GWR one, because I see it regularly passing through Thatcham when I'm going down there for work, and they look so. It's always interesting for me as a third rail modeler to see the same unit with the overhead electrification sort of going through Thatcham station whilst you're stuck at the crossing, and it really suits the GWR branding on it. I think it looks great.
Yeah, I quite like the 387s. They're more comfortable to ride than the IETs, I think, as well. If I'm going to Reading and I have to change at Didcot, if it's a case of waiting for the IET or jumping on the 387, which takes a little bit longer because it's calling it Cholsey and Pangbourne and that, I'll get on the 387. It's just, I don't know, it feels nicer. So, yeah, as you say, Curoscale have announced that they're going to do the 377, the 375 first in the various liveries, covering, I think it's just Southeastern and Southern and Thameslink. Livery wise, and then they will look at branching out into the Electrostar family, as you say, the 387s like GWR, and that following afterwards, providing that this is a success, because this is obviously a very big financial risk for a Curoscale. It's one of the reasons why they're asking for the £50 non-refundable deposit up front. So yeah, if if you want it, they want you to be committed to this. No, no, I might have it, I might not have it. I think if you say you're going to buy it, you're going to have to buy it, kind of thing. Um, so yeah, I kudos to Scale for this one. As I say, this is a model that's been missing from OO Gauge for far too long, and I think it's a game changer. And yeah, good for them. So yeah, I'm very pleased to hear this announcement, even though I have no interest in buying one.
What I really enjoyed to talk. Obviously, I'm very passionate about this, but when they talked about how far. So the 450s that we have down here on the south, you obviously have the 350s, which are the sort of the north of the Thames equivalent, where they go for the overhead electrification. Um, but what is really interesting is they talked really heavily about how far the Electrostar family sort of travels in essence, and that you can model it in a lot of different areas, and how far north the Electrostar family sort of goes as well. It's one of the few units I wouldn't need to get an 8-car version of. I could easily sit with a 4-car version and be happy.
That's good because obviously the 8-car version, I think they even run them in 12s. I think Thameslink used to run them as 12, so that would be very, very expensive to model. But you know, it's a whole train, I suppose. I don't think when you think about the price of it, it can't be much different to buying a locomotive and 3 coaches. The cost these days.
Well, what was interesting is there's 2 powered cars on these as well. It's not just a single powered unit like you do with the Bachmann 450 version. There will be 2 of the cars will be powered, which is great.
So 2 locomotives and 2 coaches, and that definitely justifies the price.
I mean, could you get a HST for that much?
Well, when you consider the cost of a HST, for a recommended retail price, I think we're looking at £150 difference for a non-sound between the two.
Mm.
So yeah, yeah. I again, yeah. Go support it if that's what you want. Because I don't think if this doesn't go through, I don't think anyone else is going to venture towards this daring gamble. But yeah, that's a curious scale in conjunction with Rails at Sheffield with the 375, 377, and hopefully the 379 and 387 in the future. Right then, other news then. Our good friend Tom has announced new products as part of the Buggles Kelly station range. So we've got the Postman as one of his new figures, and this is from the Will Haig classic "Oh Mr. Porter." And if you're familiar with that film, or you may have heard the catchphrase, "You're wasting your time," it's the Postman that quite often quotes that at Will Haig's character. Following that, there is news that there will be a Dad's Army figure range coming in the future, but nothing concrete yet. It's just that Tom has got the licensing permission to make these, so looking forward to that. But he has got Dad's Army wagons on the way in N gauge and in OO gauge to go with the current offerings. And this is Joe Walker, wholesale supplier, in a black livery, because obviously anyone who knows the show knows that Joe liked to deal with a few black market, dodgy dealing kind of things. So the livery suits quite well. Those bands are going to be £25. Well, the OO one is, and I'll have to double check on the Engage one. There's also first venture into TT with a Buggles Kelly branded TT open wagon. That's going to be due in October 2025. To mark the railway series at 80 years, the North Western Railway fish van makes a return. It wasn't gone for very long. It only just sold out last year, but there's going to be another batch being produced. They'll be £25 a wagon. There's also going to be a couple more announcements later in the year relating to this. Tom wanted you to kindly comment what you thought it might be, and yeah, I think that covers everything for Buggles Kelly's announcements. Well, the only other thing is that they are moving, and the shop is shut for a couple of weeks whilst they move and set up at their new premises. So it'll be pre-orders only and dispatched once they're all up and running again. I think the only other bit of news was I found it quite interesting because I've always, in fact, I should be going to Doncaster in a couple of months' time for a training course. So maybe I can stop off on the way at the new Rails of Sheffield shop at Sheffield Station.
Mm.
So that was quite interesting to see because when you're on the train, you're going in, you can see the shop, and then you work out how far it is from the actual train station, and you go, "Oh, I'll never make it." So yeah, quite interesting to see that they're moving into the railway station, which is I appreciate it. I don't go to Sheffield very often, but at least I have something to do if I'm there.
It's
Last time it snowed and there was nothing to do, and I got stuck waiting for my train. So.
oh, nobody needs that.
So that's all the news for this week. Unless anyone's got any surprise announcements that we miss in the time between recording and publishing, in which case we'll talk about that next week. Shall we move on to our Fight Club, which this week is going to be a little different?
Sir, a delivery has arrived for you.
Bring it through, Wilson. This'll be my loco I sent to Emperor's Path.
Was it airbrush or oils this time?
Both. It's all very affordable.
Even for a poorly paid butler like me?
Oh, yes. Just remember, Emperor's Path Weathering.
Contact Sam at Emperor's Path via email at emperorspathcontact@gmail.com or Instagram at emperors_path. If it's not filthy, let's fix that.
Look at that.
Well, it's Fight Club week. We've run out of locomotives to fight with, so it's time to start tossing layouts. No, hang on. Train sets at each other. This week, we're going to design a train set, but to follow some certain rules to make it a little bit more interesting. For this, we decided that there'll be 3 categories: a beginner, a returner, so someone who was once in the hobby and has decided to come back, and a premier train set for someone who's got plenty of disposable income to buy something a little bit fancy. Following these rules, you have to fit it into 3 themes. There has to be 1 passenger train set, 1 freight train set, 1 industrial train set. On top of that, we've taken the 3 most common brands of train set manufacturer. So 1 will have to be a Hornby OO gauge train set, 1 will have to be a Bachmann OO gauge train set, and 1 will have to be a Farish N gauge train set. You can put as many items into the train set as you like, but points will be scored on the following. Firstly, the best name for the train set will gain a point. The most unique train set will gain a point. The most cost-effective train set will gain a point. And I think there was something else that we decided I'm going to have to double check on whilst we go through the recording because I can't remember right now. But that's basically how we're going to do this Fight Club. So, Sam, are you ready to tell everyone what your beginner train set is?
No, because I've just realised I've completely screwed up the 3rd category. But hopefully it fits in the brand at the end, and you'll probably tell me I've lost and that you're going to win again, blah blah blah. But hopefully it's a good enough train set that at least it's interesting. So yes, let's go into beginner train set.
Probably I explained these rules to you. I wrote them out very clearly.
Yeah, you see,
They battle music.
So let me explain myself, okay? So I read that we had to use one of Graham Farish, Bachmann, or Hornby, and then the rest was we could sort of go from there, but we had to use at least one of them. I have used 2 of them, but on one of them I went off piste. So I mean, let's see how that pans out. I mean, it's for the moneymaker one anyway, so we'll see. Round 1.
Yeah, let's go. Also, there'll be a wild card round. Do you remember that one as well?
Yeah.
Where you can anything you like.
So I have
Anything
got
you like.
four rounds. The problem is that the two last ones, the wild card and the expert one, don't fit into the other categories. So I mean, please.
Let's just see how
Otherwise,
you
we're
get
not going
on.
to have a show.
I'm still trying to find. I'm sure we had something else to win a point on, but
I've got it in our messages. So it was cost,
cost,
name,
name.
name of set, components, and cost is what you've put in there. So the components that are in the train set will effectively
Yeah.
be what we're gauging it on.
Yeah.
And I've got
Oh.
pen and post-it ready.
Good, excellent stuff. Right then, that's how we're going to do this Fight Club. Then, obviously, once again, the Model Rail Replacement Podcast is ill prepared as always. Sam, go on then. What is your beginner train set? What have you decided to design?
Okay. So, would you like the gauge and manufacturer first, or would you like the name of the train set and then we go from there?
Let's start with the gauge and manufacturer. Then you can tell us the name, and then you can tell us what's in it. And just to let everyone know, when we've costed it, we've sort of guesstimated that the cost of a controller and track for a looper track with a siding and the controller is £60. Any extra components, like any more extra bits of track, has to be added onto the cost. And then we've taken recommended retail price and just put a 10% discount on all components. We assume it's a ballpark figure. It probably would be a little lower, but for the purposes of the game, it's just knocking 10% off to get your final total of how much the train set would cost.
Yeah, we did look at some of the more well-known brands, and I said to James before we started that I just needed to double check what our RRP was based on, because if I was going off the sale prices of some of the items, my train set would be a lot cheaper. The bit that completely threw me was I thought trying to make a train set was going to be so you could make a cheap version of it, and actually, I don't. I feel like I'm a hypocrite, and I've not achieved that. So for my beginner's train set, I have gone for a Graham Farish N-gauge train set because I feel like a beginner, someone who is, if you're beginning in model railways, I feel like you at least have the advantage of some youth on your side. That's a very broad, sweeping statement. So that's why I've gone with N-gauge as the beginner set, because also as a beginner, you don't have to take up too much space by going N-gauge. Happy with that?
That's cool. So what have you gone with? Is it a freight? Is it a passenger, or is it an industrial set?
I've gone for a freight set.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the name of my train set is the Biased Valley Bay. That's the name of the train set. It features a Great Western pannier tank, a 7-plank Southern Region wagon, a gunpowder van, and a BR brake van, along with track and controller. So that is your simple little freight train that can go around. If you want to add additional wagons to it, you can. I thought I'd go with something that is a little bit of GWR biased, a little bit Southern Region biased, an LMS brake van in there, and then I've completely ignored the LNER because that's what I do. And then there's a nice little gunpowder van for something different in the train set on there.
Okay, that's the title threw me at first. I was expecting, because you said biased, there's a lot of the use of the biomass wagons, which was like, but don't isn't it Revolution make them an N-gauge, so you can't use them. But that makes more sense. You've just done a pun on the podcast accusations. Which
I'm
keeps
not
having
gonna
a
lie.
go, saying, "Oh yeah, they forget the north, right?" Can I just point out that my OO gauge layout is set on the Transpennine route? I have Northern 150s and 158. I've got Transpennine Class 68s and Mark 5 coaches. Yeah, I don't know where this accusation of I forgot the north has come from. My
I,
entire layout is based on it.
I think that's because no one ever sees your layout, so it's quite easy for them to forget. Like
Well, I did put a video up on Instagram the other day of a Southern Class 73.
I was very much like, I don't think it counts when you don't share your layout, James. That you can sit here and say how good your northern non-bias is.
Look, I built a loop and then that was it. It just stopped. But as soon as I got trains running on it, it was like, I can't be bothered anymore. Cool. So that's what we've gone with. That's your beginner. Why do you feel that the N-gauge is the way to start off in the hobby? What drew you to that?
I feel like the biggest thing for anybody who comes into the hobby first, the biggest thing that always affects it is size and the the ability to feel to with in essence, this N-Gage set you can put on your dining room table because even with some of the smaller double O gauge sets that are already available widely, you can't fit the Great Western HST Hornby train set as a good example. It's still quite a big layout, and you still need at least 4 foot by 4 foot before you even take into account the straights on the train set. And I feel like the N-Gage one is a brilliant one where you can make this little oval with a little siding and piece of track, which gives you a little bit of operating ability. But you can have it all on your dining table. You can start learn what you like about the hobby, and then if you decide, well, actually, N-Gage is too small for me, you can then have a look at adapting it to fit the space that you have available. Whereas at the moment, this is I can build a layout, put it on the dining room table, and when I'm finished, I can take it back off again. That's my thought process.
I like that. I like that. That's cool. So how much does it cost in total?
It is £213 for the train set, but with our little discount that we're applying for the train set value of it, it goes down to £192 for this train set.
Ooh. Ooh. There's £11 difference in it then. Yours is slightly cheaper than mine.
Oh, okay.
Know what mine is?
Yeah, go on, tell me.
Right, I have gone for it was beginner. It just seemed so natural and traditional to go with what anyone who's going to start a hobby is going to start looking for. They're going to look for a Hornby train set. So I've gone with OO Gauge Hornby. And I've gone for a freight theme. And I realized later on that by doing that, I tied my hands when it comes to industrial. But we'll explain that later. My layout, my train set is called the Virtual Quarry Master. So I've gone for a nice Hornby-esque style name that they give it. And the reason it's called the Virtual Quarry Master is because it contains one Class 66 in GBRF blue, which I felt was the most commonly seen 66 these days on the network. I think more than DB Shankar. So I went for a GBRF model, coming in at $94.99. Then 3 of the PTA, these are the ex-Lima tooling wagons in network rail yellow, which have also just been announced in the Hornby range as part of the railroad range. So 3 of them cost £65.67, and then with the track and controller, £60 on top of that. Adding my 10% discount, mine costs a total of £203. So that was my choices, and I think this is something we've been discussing before, and what we sort of praised with Hornby bringing out these cheaper Azuma train sets is, I feel that Hornby need a freight-based train set that's going to draw someone into the hobby, because one, freight train sets are far more fun than passenger train sets, in my opinion. You can shunt wagons, you can move things about. I mean, obviously having 3 wagons of the same probably isn't quite as fun, but a passenger train set just goes round and round in a circle and doesn't really do much. At least I think there's a little bit more activity with a freight style train set. And I wanted to get the most, what I thought would be the most commonly seen components on the network. So those network rail wagons are going to be seen everywhere. It doesn't matter where you go, because the engineering trains run from Penzance all the way up to Aberdeen and beyond. You'll find them anywhere. So a more common component that anyone can relate to and get into the hobby. That was my choice of why I thought it'd be good for beginner.
I do like it. Can you just clarify the name? Why is it virtual?
So, because I've used the network rail style wagons, these, as I say, are seen all over the country, and what they use is what they call a virtual quarry. So Hinksey Yard is a prime example of this. All the stones dug out in the Mendips, at Merehead and Whatley, and then they get transported in these wagons, and then they get dropped off at Hinksey, and then the wagons get unloaded and reloaded into other wagons, and then distributed. Some gets taken off to Bescot, and then others get used in the engineering works around in the Western region. And you have these virtual quarries everywhere. They're all over the network. I think another one off the top of my head is it's on the Satland Carlisle I think it's Askill, I think. Or Bleemore, possibly Bleemore. Anyway, along there, another one there. So that's the reasoning for the name of why I called it the Virtual Quarry Master, because Hornby always like to add the word master at the end of their train sets.
I was trying to when you said virtual, I was like, oh, is he using the little Bluetooth kit that you can get in a Hornby train set? And I thought that would have been really, really clever to do so.
So you know what? That I think that would be the way I would upgrade it and probably justify that title a little bit more. Obviously, it add a bit more to the cost. I think taking out the standard analog controller and putting in like the Bluetooth in the 66 and the controller and calling it the Virtual Quarry Master would have tied it up nicely. But yeah, I felt it would push the price maybe a little bit too high. For a beginner train set. I mean, it's already over £200, but then again, I considered it and thought, well, a brand new loco these days can cost £200. But obviously, you've got yours in just a little bit cheaper there.
Yeah, I mean, how many wagons did you say you had in yours again?
Three of the ETA wagons in the Network Rail.
So
Yeah.
I've done the same thing. I believe that 3 wagons is a good train set amount, whether that's 2 wagons and a break van or whether that's just 3 wagons, 3 coaches and stuff like that. I feel like you're getting your value out of a train set when you have that amount. So I think you've done well to put that in there. We've praised especially and I think this is why I went Graham Farish for the beginner layout. We've praised how the newer Graham Farish N-Gauge train sets have been phenomenal value, including the cement wagons where you get 6 wagons in a set, which is phenomenal. Like you never hear of getting that many wagons in a train set previously.
Yeah, I think that reminds me of the old days of the very old Graham Farish sets. I think they used to make something with just a little bit extra in there, wagon wise. So it was a little bit more than the 00 gauge offering that you have. And like you say, if you're starting smaller, you've got more space and you can build those bigger trains. So maybe that's where that appeal of the smaller gauge modelling is.
But you've got that thing of whilst they are samey, because that's one thing you don't often get in a train set. You don't get the same, especially when it comes to freight. You don't necessarily get the same wagons in a train set. It's very stereotypical. With the coaches, you do, but wagons, they usually give you 3 completely different wagons. Like you'll get an old coal wagon with a rail freight sort of wagon. That's one thing that they're very. But me personally, I like the fact that you've gone for the same wagons in there. Does it mean that a younger person might not find it as enjoyable? Possibly, but me as a weird child, I would have loved to have had the same of the same wagon. So, yeah, I commend you on that. So, I guess if we're looking at our 3 main things of cost, components, and name, do you want to be do you want to be graded first or second?
What was your one called again? The
Biased Valley Bay.
Biased Valley Bay.
Yeah, I tried to go with the GWR valleys and the bay of the southern region.
I'll be honest, you're confusing.
Yeah, I get that. It was more just to sort of prove a point more than anything else. Because I think one of the things that I found is that I'm so out of my depth with N-Gauge. Like I see things and I go, oh, that's nice, but I never really taken in the price. And then whilst I was researching this, I was looking at the price of some of the locos. I was like, that seems like a lot. Whereas I've seen some of the multiple units that feel like they're really good value for money, but maybe that's just me. But yeah, okay. So my name's confusing. So out of 5, how many marks are you giving the name?
The name, just for humour purposes, I'll give it a 3 because obviously I know what you were getting at, but I don't think a customer will understand the joke.
Oh, in which case the customer's not going to understand any of my names. It is all solely pun based. I'm embracing the dad joke life here. Cool. I gave yours a 3 as well. I was expecting more humour from yours, but I do like it. It's not a bad name. The only thing was that I felt the virtual bit, and I probably would have given you a 4. The virtual bit confused me I was expecting there to be one of the snazzy Bluetooth controllers that Hornby have just started doing in there. That's the only reason I've
That
been
would have worked a bit better. I don't know why you think these train sets need humour based names. This is a serious product we're trying to produce here. We're trying to look. Everyone knows that this episode is just us trying to get some sort of consulting fee out of Hornby. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, cool. Components. I think I'd give you a strong 5. I love the synergy of your set. I love the fact that you have gone for an actual set that will be useful. It's a little bit like when we talked about the Azumas, the LNER train set, how that's going to be so useful if you were modeling somewhere that was on the LNER line and being able to populate with those, not necessarily the greater models. I like the synergy of yours. So I am going to give yours a strong 5 for the components in it. I feel like it's a really, really good looking train set. And I would purchase something like that as a beginner.
Awesome stuff. Thank you very much. Yeah, yours is very good in regards to that. The is classic beginner in that you've given a variety of wagons, completely mismatched and absolutely useless to when you decide that you're going to model only one area.
I feel like if that was on the expert, it would be a 0 because of the mismatch of it. But I was looking at it from a beginner point of view.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd give that a 4.
Yeah.
It's got that added, like you said, that added variety of, and then you can do a little bit of shunting with your pannier and move your wagons around. So there we go. Right then, costing. Yours was £11 cheaper than mine, wasn't it? So
It was, but I'll be really honest. I didn't feel like I put the prices out for these and I went, that's still too expensive for a beginner set. The one thing we've complained about is how a beginner set needs to be affordable. And although mine's sub 200, I don't know if either of them seem like cheap beginner train sets.
now this is what I wondered because I did look at the price and I was like, I want it to be a bit cheaper. I remember, as a kid going to Toys R Us and I think I had about 30 or 40 pounds in birthday money, and my choice was a Hot Wheels garage or it was one of the very basic Hornby train sets with one of those 040s and a couple of wagons or coaches in it, whatever it was. I can't quite remember. I went with the Hot Wheels garage in the end, but it was they were about £35 each, if I remember.
Mm.
And now I was looking at it going, this is ridiculous. It's like £200. But I've gone for a beginner, but I've gone for a more advanced beginner, I suppose. Something that appeals to all ages. It's a railroad-esque 66 model with railroad-esque wagons, but it wouldn't deter a more serious adult modeler from also picking it up as a starter set.
Mm.
That's what I've kind of gone for there, and so therefore maybe the price tag maybe is a bit more justified. But as I say, the prices of all other models, the locos cost £200. So if you look at it that way, maybe back in those days, say at Toys R Us when that train set was £35, you could look around and you could find Hornby locos at £35.
Yeah,
So
that's probably a good point. So I'll give yours a 3, not because you've priced it bad or you've made it an expensive train set. I just feel like the price doesn't benefit. I feel like that sort of pricing is the kind where for a train set you need to make that an intermediate one, and I'd give that same criticism to myself. I feel like the hardest part of this is making a beginner train set where the price reflects that it's for a beginner.
yeah, that's it. It's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge to get that price down, and I don't think either of us really managed it because I think yours is a little bit less than mine, but I don't feel it's quite as value for money. So I'm going to give it a 3 as well.
Yeah, I think that's a fair cop there. So we're looking at a 10 overall for me and an 11 overall for you.
There we go. Well, that was a close call there, wasn't it?
That was definitely closer than I thought it was going to be.
Cool. Right. Shall we move on to our next round, which is the returner round? Right then, let's go for the returner train set. And what's your brand? What have you gone for? What is your theme?
So, brand, I've gone for Bachmann 00.
Mm-hmm.
My theme is a commuter branch line, so passenger. I've called it Back and Forth, but Backen is spelled Backun. and then fourth as in the number. There's a lot of there's a unanimous amount of low groans over all the names for my train sets. So this is definitely a little bit out there, but do you know what? I thought if I was coming back into the hobby after a while, do you know what I might not want to do is come back to a straight up round and round train set. So
Oh,
do
yeah.
you remember we talked about the why has nobody done a shunting layout? And I said, well, actually, Hornby did. Unfortunately, it was hidden beneath their steampunk range, so they'd gone away from the simple oval of track.
Yep.
So I'm sure from a wizard point of view from this, there will be someone who will know how to do this. But I've kept it in the sense that instead of it being a big oval of track, it's actually a long piece of straight track with an additional siding on it. So keeping the same idea of having a siding from the normal conventional train set, but actually this is just a long straight piece. Now, if you had, you could obviously add different things in here. I've gone down a techie route with this, and hopefully you understand where I'm coming from. So you're coming back into the hobby. You remember all the things from your childhood that you wanted to do, but do you know what? You want a little bit of computer. You want a little bit of techie wizardry in your train set. So Bachmann, for some reason, for this train set, have decided to team up with the DCC shuttle system. Now, what this enables you to do is in your train set, it's quite a simple train set, but from a point of view of someone coming back to the hobby, it might just entice you to really get your claws in deep. And the reason it's called Back and Forth is because this has a shuttle system in it with a Bachmann Class 121 bubble car. Now, I went for the blue and grey variety because I feel like that appeals to a lot more regions than if I went with just Network Southeast. I guess you could go for the BR Green with speed whiskers and stuff like that as well. But I thought something to really keep them interested. Let's go for the Bachmann 121 DCC sound fitted with a DCC shuttle system. So the sound fitted Class 121 comes in at £250. The shuttle system comes in at £40. I've added in the cost for the track and controller at £60, but we're obviously using a lot less track than you would in the normal train set. Coming in at a total of £350 for the whole thing, or with your 10% train set discount, that comes in at £315.
Okay. Do you know what? That feels like a premier train set to me.
It you hear my you hear my Premier train set, and you might second guess that.
No. Okay.
But I mean, yeah, I looked at my train set coming in at £213. I went, well, my beginner train set can't be more than my intermediate train set. What could I do for someone? We're trying to get someone back into the hobby. They've got their first toe dipped in. They found out what they liked about it. Do you know what? Let's make it a little bit geeky, a little bit wizardry. So it's why I liked the idea of if you spent the extra money to get the Bluetooth controller in yours. I like the idea of having that techie wizardry bit in there. And you know what? You could probably make this an even cheaper train set by making it a non-sound fitted 121. But I thought, you know what? I'll go for the sound fitted version. But yeah, coming in at £350 for your intermediate train set.
It's because your control. I mean, I know you've added the £60 for the controller cost, but have you considered that you're going to need a digital controller for this train set
Yeah,
to appreciate the sound?
Yeah, that was the bit I wasn't too sure. Well, actually, no, because the DCC shuttle system doesn't need a controller. It just needs the power. It is its own controller.
Why have the sound then? We can't because I'll be honest, I like the idea, I like the concept. I feel that the sound is the only thing that is going to save this train set from becoming very boring very quickly. Because if the shuttle system's running it backwards and forwards, what interaction do you have with it? You just sat there watching it, and it's just. But if you've got the sound, at least you can go right. We'll do the horn, we'll do the doors, and you've sort of got that playability to it, which I thought why you've added the DCC sound. So, yeah, I was sort of wondering if you considered that would have to be your controller for it, or
Yeah, I very much have taken it into. I'm going off a lot of gospel. I think you're talking to someone who doesn't mind the whole trains going backwards and forwards, them going round and round. That's that's my jam. So for me, it appeals to me. I thought the premise behind this set was that you've got your electrics, you do a little bit of electric wizardry making the set, but then you start building your scenery around it, and it's very much meant to be that intermediate, like, right, okay, why did I not like the round and round train set? Okay, so let's have a look at doing this with this train set. Wanted to do something different. You could probably drop the cost massively by, as I say, dropping it down to the DC version and going for the DC shuttle system version, which will drop you down by, oh God, £120 just by dropping those off there. So then it becomes a £230 train set instead.
Okay. If you add another tenner onto it, you could throw in an IKEA lack shelf, and then you've got a baseboard for it.
The problem being that then it's too small. Because in my
Oh.
mind, I've got it as being a little bit bigger, so that you've got at least a little bit for it to work off. Because it's not a box
You can
file
get those
diet.
shelves into 6 feet lengths.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. In which case, yeah, another £10, you're throwing yourself a shelf.
Because
You've got a baseboard.
I bought one with that exact intention. I was like, I could get a layout on that. It's now up in the living room, holds plants, but the idea was there.
So yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, I kind of, I suppose. So would you like include like a guide in it then, like going like this is not your traditional train set. This is to get you back in the hobby, but you could start with, and like I say, you may be recommending that you get one of these IKEA shelves. You could build this on this IKEA shelf, and you can add your scenery, and this can be your first layout. Is that sort of what you're aiming for?
Yeah, I guess it would be the perfect candidate for. Do you remember in 2012, maybe 2013, there was a magazine series that came out that was very much it. You don't really see these anymore, at least they're not as popular. When we were younger, it used to be you got an issue of something for 99p, and it basically laid out, here's one you buy all 600 issues, you'll have a fully built robot, or you'll have a fully built this. This would be that kind of thing where if it wasn't a train set, it would be a perfect idea for. Okay, so the first thing that you get is you need to buy the shelf, but here's your first bit of track, which is your track for the whole layout. And then the next issue would be. So I guess maybe it isn't worthy of being a train set, but I did try to think outside the box, and we complained about why didn't we have a shunting train set? So I thought, let's do something a little bit different.
Yeah, it's the thing. I like the concept. I feel it would fall better into a premier category. I'm just adding those slightly extra components to it. But do you know what? I think it's a good shout as a returner one. I'm not. I think, yeah, like you say, some people like to get involved with the model railway, and some people just like to watch the train. So maybe there is that appeal of watching the back and forth set. And I know exactly which magazine you talk about. You talk about that Part Works, where everybody got a Mark One coach for 99p.
Yep, that's the one. It was,
and now they get sold at the second-hand stalls for like 11 quid.
Yep. In fact, I think I had one when I got back into the hobby, but they were better than the Hornby Mark One coaches, but not as good as the Bachmann Mark One coaches. I specifically
they were very
that.
similar to the Bachmann Mark ones, but they were just not quite as good, but they were still pretty decent.
Yes.
And I know some people went out and bought like loads of those magazines just so they could get the coaches. Yeah, thinking out of the box. I like it. I like the idea. What livery did you go for the bubble car?
I went for blue and grey, so that it's
blue and grey. I think that's a good call, because I've gone for similar. I think we're probably thinking of the same market in regards to returning to the hobby. It is going to be someone, I think, who's just a little bit older than ourselves, who's probably, their kids are grown up, they've moved out, they've now realised that the bedroom can be utilised as a model railway room again. And if you're going to go out and buy a train set, you're going to, again, this is how I went for beginner of what you see in the railway today. It's probably going to be aimed at a child, and it's going to be what they see in the railway. So therefore, a returner is going to be what they saw on the railway from that nostalgia point of view. So I get why you've gone for blue and grey. I have also gone for the BR Blue era. I'm doing mine in Graham Farish N-gauge.
Okay.
I think, following my own experience of railway modelling, I had OO gauge as a kid. I did have N gauge at one point, and then, became a teenager. Any admitting to liking trains was just social suicide, and it wasn't until you got older that you could admit that you like trains again. So then you get back in the hobby, and I bought an N gauge train set because, one, it wasn't as big. It would fit in, it'd go in the space better, particularly as I'd moved into a small house that we were renting, so we couldn't really afford anything to house anything bigger. So I thought N-Gage is probably actually a good scale to return to if you were coming back into the hobby. And obviously, hands are tied by options.
Yeah.
And yeah, mine is called Arrived in the Mail. So it's passenger theme, and I did a little bit of research to make sure that I wasn't breaking the rules on this. I'm definitely bending the rules on this. Because obviously, a parcels train is not quite a freight train, and it's not quite a passenger train. However, during the period that I've selected of the BR Blue period, BSK brake coaches were added to parcel trains for the comfort of the guard and were advertised as passenger services. So it'd be a very slow and long overnight service from King's Cross to Newcastle or something like that. There was various services, so I thought I can get away with this. I can call it a passenger set, but still have it a bit more interesting that you've got the parcels coach with it. So I've started off with a BR large logo blue class 47 because large logo blue looks great on a 47. We're at 179.95 at the recommended retail price to add that into the set. Obviously, to get past the rules and keep it as a passenger train, it's got a Mark 1 BSK brake coach in BR Blue added at 47.95. And then, because components get very expensive, and this is obviously why you see it more these days, it only comes with 2 items rather than 3. It's just got one Mark 1 BG coach or stowage van, 47.95 with additional track and control at £60. Taking 10% off the components to make this train set, comes in at £308.27. So yeah, that's what I've gone for there, and again I've gone for that nostalgia of the BR Blue area. I think that's going to appeal more to the returner, and I think N-Gage may be something that when they were younger, it was too small, it was too expensive, it was too niche. Now they're coming back to the hobby. Actually, do you know what the biggest problem I had with OO Gauge? I couldn't fit it anywhere in the house. I could build this N-Gauge layout and still have a bit of room. So those are my reasonings of why I've gone for that. That's all you got to say. Nice.
I was trying to think of how to. So I love the idea, and yeah, I remember the fact that you could get tickets for the post train to sit, stand, whatever. So completely behind that idea. Heavily biased because post trains are one of my favorite things. Um, I like the idea. I think it's a let's score it. Let's look at. So what did you say your name was again?
Arrived in the mail.
Arrived in the mail. Okay. Good name. Do you think it would be misleading for those who were looking for a passenger train?
No, because you always got a blurb on the back explaining.
Okay. Just
But,
ask
but
it.
the idea was, I thought again, I can understand the appeal of passenger train sets in that they're glamorous, we travel on it and go on it, but they are, in my opinion, the most boring train sets out there. They just go round and round. Oh, let's pretend we're stopped at the station. That's it. Freight and parcels is far more interesting. And so by adding in the parcels van, and you've still got that looper track and a siding, I can drop the parcels van off and we can continue the BSK and off we go to go pick up another parcels van. There it is. Now the train's, got, pretending it's a different stop, different van. We can have a bit of fun with this, shunt it all around. Right now we've arrived, we can drop the BSK off. We can go shunt the parcels van somewhere else or take it around the looper track. Just adding that little extra bit of playability, I thought,
Yeah.
which I don't think passenger train sets offer.
No, and I completely agree with you. The biggest thing about a passenger train set is you can't shut, especially if you're doing a multiple unit train set, you can't shunt parts of the train set. And even there was always this part of me when I was little was I mean having had as my first ever train set a parcels train, even that felt like a little bit like you couldn't drop bits and bobs off. But I like your idea. You're explaining why you could in this situation, and I like it. So let's go. As we're tackling this different to how we would our usual. So let's talk costs. So what did you say your final cost was?
Right, so because I did actually have an additional option of adding a Mark 1 CCT to the set, which would add another £32.95, and that would have bought the set in at £337.92. But to keep costs a little low, I thought maybe not have the Mark 1 CCT and just have it at 308.27. But I don't know. I always feel that extra vehicle adds that extra bit of play value to it.
Yeah, two does feel like a really small amount. So let's have a little bit of leeway here then. So if you let me drop the DCC sound fitted part of mine and make it a DC system, you can have the additional coach. Because I genuinely think yours would be better with an additional coach on it.
I think the CCT. Yeah, and I picked the CCT because, one, it adds a bit of variety to the train, and obviously post trains were made up of all the different vans, so it's going to look more authentic. And yeah, I think that way, definitely, it's more fun with the siding that, right, we'll drop the CCT off, right, we'll come round now, right, we'll pick that one up, but we'll drop the BG off, right, go round again, now we can drop the other one off and pick the other one up. You got that bit more. So yeah, all right, I'll add that in, and with the 10% discount on the components, to add £60 for the track and controller, £337.92 the cost for a returner train set in N-Gauge.
Okay, brilliant. And you're happy for me to make the changes on mine?
Yeah, if you want to drop the sound.
Cool. So that drops me down to £230 for the cost on mine. So cost of yours, I think you're getting a lot in there. So I'm gonna go for a 4 on the cost for yours. I know it's a lot of money, but I like what you've got in there. And I like you've got an N-Gauge for the intermediate for the opposite reason of why I went for it for the beginner. As a parent, let's say, you're losing a lot of the space you may have previously had. So actually, yeah, you are downsizing it. So
I think this is where TT is going to come through and be that answer to both, because our reasons for return and our reasons for beginner it comes down to that spacing again. And like you say, my biggest gripe with the TT that's currently on offer, train set wise, they're all passenger sets, and they all come with sidings. But why? What's the point? Because I've got nothing to do but run it round in circles. They need a freight themed train set, and I think they'll be off the blocks, sort of thing. But yeah. And I think what we're saying here, it proves that point in our thinking of how you should be having the train set. So yeah. So what was that? You were scoring mine
I'm giving you a 4 for the cost.
4 for the cost. Yours is obviously very good value for money, I think, in regards that if someone wanted to just start off with the shuttle unit, the track and that, you probably just getting that loco and those extra little bit components. Maybe it just needs something a little extra. I don't, because you've put a siding in there, haven't you?
There is a siding. I don't think you could use it in this system, but you could advance on it if that makes sense. Because
there is. If you threw a van in there, I think that'd be great. Just because you've gone for BR Blue era, and I think they did used to tag a van on the back of the old bubble cars every now and again.
Or the stereotypical milk wagon. Cool. So what are you giving me for cost?
I think it's very good value for money. But it does feel like you've just bought a loco with a few extra parts, just because there's no other components in there in regards to rolling stock.
But that's components, not cost.
But what my point is I could just go out and buy a bubble car, or I could buy a bubble car and get some track. It's not. So I'd give it a 4.5 out of 5. I would give it a full 5 if it just had one more component that felt like it was a bit more train setty value for money, rather than it just being the DMU with some track. But I still think it's very good value for money.
So this is my concern. That part surely comes under the component aspect of it. So the cost of what you're getting is good.
But my I was hoping my argument is that I feel that the costing difference of just buying the DMU on its own or buying it with some track is not that much. Do you see what I mean? But I still feel as a train set,
because you're not getting a physical amount of things in the set. So actually, you're not getting. It's not like the whole point is that you, with a train set, you buy a few things in bulk so that you get I'm with you now. Yeah, you're cutting a bit off the top because you've bought loads of stuff. In this, you are literally, in essence, it's just the fact that everything's there ready to go. I'm with you now.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
cool.
So otherwise, I think it's a good starting point for a train set in price wise. But
It's that thing of as well, and I certainly found it up here in my loft, is the second you try to add corners in to then make your layout bigger or expand it, everything takes up far more space. And I think that's why the whole end-to-end side of it might be a different avenue to go down, simply because you can fit an end-to-end along a wall. Whereas here, I've got this massive, I think it must be at least 8 foot deep part of my layout where the curve effectively comes around and does a U in order to finish the whole circle.
yeah,
It's a lot of space.
it is a lot. And that's actually, it reminds me, and I thought I'd written this on here and I completely forgot, and I was going to bring it up in the beginning one. With the cost of my track components, I was going to say I was going to make those curves second radius. I never understood why Hornby went for third radius, the biggest curve they could offer, and they stuck it in the train set. And you're like you say, it's massive, it takes up space. Surely the second radius would be far more suited. It's not going to take up as much room for a starter set, and it's, it might make it more appealing. But yeah, it's always a bit of an odd one, that one. Okay, cool. Right. So costing wise, in 4.5 for you, and what did I get? Was it 4?
Just because it's just that little bit. I can't sit here and say it's an affordable train set, but it is a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I looked at it, and that's why I can't give it the full 5. But I do think it is a good little train set. So components with yours, I mean, you're appealing to my everything I love in there. I think this could be. It's either a 4 or a 5, and I can't quite make my mind up on it. I think I'm gonna have to go 4. I really, really do love the. If this was 00, I think component wise, that would sway me.
Oh, it'd be a great 00 set.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. I mean, still a great end set.
It is a very good end set. Is it the top tier? Is it the best that it could be? No. Saying it like that, no. I think it is a 4. It's a strong 4, but I can't put it as
in an ideal world, the costings weren't there. I'd throw another 2 vans in with that, just to make it feel like a proper parcels train. But again, it's keeping that price down, isn't it?
Yeah.
So okay, cool. Component wise, I think you've got the track shuttle system added in there that Bachmann have created.
That is my problem. Is that I've effectively gone for something that is off piste.
We're supposed to pick components from the range, but okay, we'll brush over that. I'm sure Bachmann could easily make that component if they wanted to, and probably make it for probably the cost of what you say it is, maybe even less during the. So yeah, I feel it just needs that one, just a van. If you just put one sort of plain BR brown van in there, it would just give it that little bit more extra value. So I think yours have to be at 4 as well. I like the shuttle system idea. I like the back and forth concept of the track layout. I like that you've thrown a DMU in there, which is quite useful. Maybe not. Maybe the 1-to-1 is not the most versatile to appeal to all modelers, because obviously it's limited in its scope of where it ran. But I think still, as a returner, it's probably quite an appealing set. So yeah, 4 for you.
Thank you. I genuinely thought, because of the component side of it, I thought it might have been lower than that, so I'm happy with a 4. Names then. So back and forth for mine.
Back and forth.
But and you can say it in any regional dialect, and it still sounds like you're saying it in that regional dialect.
What does it now, laddie? Back and forth.
Oh no! Oh no!
Aye. No.
This is the problem. I've been too many shows where you see so many pun-based names that it's got inside my head. So that's probably why I've gone with back and forth.
Do you know what? I hate pun.
Do you know what I hate more than anything? Puns.
I always why say, we're going off topic now, right? When it comes to layouts, I always feel that if you've modeled it in a certain area, just do a bit of historic research, find out why the names in that area got those names. If it's sort of round the Anglia way, you'll find that something with lay at the end means wood. So is your layout near a wood? All right, then maybe call it something wood. It's usually somebody's wood. So, pick a name you like Anne. All right, so it's Anlay. There you go. It was Anne's wood because it was, during the Saxon period. That's how it got its name. And I think that's far more interesting and gives far more depth to your layout than going, I'm going to call it Wobbly Bottom because Noel Edmonds lived at Crinkly Bottom. And it's just like, great.
That's a 5,
You
yeah.
put all that effort into your layout, just do a little bit of research into the name.
I think it's because when you buy a train set as well, you don't necessarily have a full layout name to go with it. So you go for something that someone who is walking into a shop, and if you said to them, "Oh, this is a train set. It's called Back and Forth." Oh, what does it do? Oh, it goes round and round. Like you're sort of obviously the biased Valley Bay that doesn't do it, but the reason I went with it, I thought Back and Forth explains what it does in the
It
name.
works. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it does work. I know I'm not let's say I'm not a fan of the pun-based names, but I'm always forgiving for those who name it after their pets because I mean I called my original OO Burford Road because we nicknamed the dog Burford, and that's sort of where it come from. But it was always going to be a Western region layout, so Burford is in Oxfordshire, so it wouldn't be too far to say that the layout would be built on Burford Road. But yeah, I think Back and Forth works. I would give it a 5 actually, to be
well,
honest.
thank you. Thanks,
It's a good
James.
name. It's a good name for the theme of your train set. So
Yes.
yeah,
Excellent. Thank you very much. And what did you call your name to remind everyone?
mine's called Arrived in the Mail.
But once again, it works for a train. If you imagine the name on a box, arrived in the mail makes complete sense because you've not gone with the stereotypical night train. Because I think there's like 7 night train sets. Because technically, I know people who have slept on post bags. So arrived in the mail is physically accurate as well. Yeah, I'll give you a strong 5 as well.
There we are. Lovely stuff. I think you win that by half a point then.
Half a point in it. So I think this is my first victory in a fight club in a very long time.
And you earned it, Sam. You earned it this time. You
Thanks.
did the research, you thought about it, and you earned that victory. And I
I've
hope
got
you're feeling proud now.
Mate, do you know what? I really am. Like, out of all of them, there's a little piece of all of them that I really enjoy and I really like. This one is the one that I would probably purchase because I've always liked the idea of a shuttle system, and I think it would be a really good basis for someone who wants to have trains that are running back and forwards whilst they're working on the layout. And it is that ability of that. I feel like George Williamson's layouts always make me feel like this, where you can have the trains running backwards and forwards on it whilst you're doing like little bits of scenery.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the appeal to it, isn't it?
But yeah, I do like the night train idea. Cool. So I believe we're moving on to round 3.
I'm free of the Premier round. Right then, Premier train set. What's yours, Sam?
So I've actually gone for, and this is where I got a little bit confused, but hopefully, from a train set point of view, this might be something you'd be interested in. So I've gone to model with Daypole, who, in a magical world, started bringing out train sets, and it's actually an O gauge. The theme is dockside shunting, and it is definitely a premier train set once you have a look at the price tag. Now, I want it known, I would have picked plenty of Great Western, Southern region. There were lots of choices when it comes to O gauge that are good value for money that I could have purchased for this. So all of you are sat at home going, "Oh, it's all about 7 bias, meh." I've gone so that you can pretty much put any region on it, but I'm going for LNER just to shut you up. All right? Not you, James. You haven't done anything wrong. Don't you worry, sweetheart. You're okay.
Ah.
This might get completely removed. Who knows?
When you were like, "Oh, I might have bucked it up a bit," I wasn't. What a curveball you've thrown at me! I wasn't expecting you to not only not use Hornby at all, but go for a completely different gauge that wasn't allowed within the rules.
I think in my head, I'd read it that I had to use one of them and then the rest was fair game. And I just got confused. So,
That's what the wild card round was for.
yeah, well, my wild card's even more wild. So,
If your wild card round turns out to be a Hornby OO gauge train set. Oh dear. You
I
did
don't-
so well in the last round. You did so well. Go on, what is in your components?
so
You You've designed it now. You better tell us.
Yeah. So, those who are big fans of puns, the oh God, you're gonna hate this one now that I've said that. The train set name is What's Up, Doc? DOCK. I can just feel you cringing and tensing.
I hate it already. Never buying it. I'm boycotting this one.
Do you know
The
what?
reason Daypol don't make train sets.
Okay, so it's a dockside shunting. Now, if money wasn't, if it, I had to still be sensible with the amount of money that this set was going to cost. So whilst I could have put way more wagons in here, I did stick to that sort of rule of three within the
Mhm.
train set. And it's very clear that this is meant to be the beginnings of an Inglenook shunting puzzle. So we've said shunting puzzles or shunting layouts need to be a thing, and it's why my intermediate one wasn't a shunting idea because I was saving it for the expert round. This is someone who's they've had loads of years of doing exhibitions where they've done this, and that. But do you know what? They're like, I want to step into a O gauge. So this fictional train set's popped up that allows you to step into O gauge. You don't need your own purpose-built warehouse in order to house it. You can still fit this within an 8 foot. Let's go with 8 foot off the top of my head. Possibly you could expand it longer. So you've got two sets of points, which come out at £80 each. So you're spending £160 on your points alone. I've already mucked this one up. There should be at least 4 pieces of FlexiTrack, not 3. So the FlexiTrack is actually way more. So it's £13 a piece of FlexiTrack. So the grand total actually comes to £52 for the 4 pieces of FlexiTrack. 3 wagons. Now the average price for O gauge wagons is between £39 and £50. We're looking at doing sort of like the budget thing. So I've gone for a plank wagon, a box wagon, and another sort of generic coal looking wagon for this one. And that brings the wagons up to £120. Luckily, the best value for money you're getting out of this is the controller at £60. And then we've gone for not my favorite, but I feel like it's something that could apply to a lot of different regions. I've gone for the Y3 Sentinel in some LNER livery, I don't know, which comes out at £200. Now, the train set, let me just add in my changes to track because I mucked that up royally. So that is a total of £592. If you take off your 10% for train set, that's taking off £59.20, which brings it down to a really generous £532.80 train set expert. Just a drop in the ocean.
Does the van have some sort of humorous branding where it's carrying rabbits?
Uh,
Just to fit in with your pun of What's Up, Doc?
I should have done Goonie Tunes or something like that. Oh, that would have
Because
been
it's Daypole, and they love doing that sort of
it would
branding of
it would be
products.
an Acme van, wouldn't it? That
No,
would be there. I've missed a trick.
yeah, you've really let us down. I mean, firstly, you've not followed the rules.
So, I mean, throw the rules out the window, James. Right, okay. Let's just look at the bigger picture. This is the cool train set.
Yes, it is a cool train set. I think there has been attempts to make an O gauge train set, but I think it was called like the Didcot on Shed or something like that. And it came with a GWR Large Prairie and one set of points and some other bits of set track. You just shunt the loco backwards and forwards over the siding. That was the basis of it. I don't think there was anything else in it.
Mm.
So it has been tempted. I don't know how well it sold or how popular it was.
I know Pico obviously do the O gauge starter set, so you could get. I think. Oh, I mean, if you look at the cost of the points alone, the starter set is I think £106. It's quite reasonable for what it is. But I wanted to make it so that because we said in the previous thing, the curves adds that dimension of what stops people doing train sets is the space that to have the full round and round take up. So
Mhm.
I've gone for the shunting puzzle side of it. So yeah, I tried. Clearly, I didn't listen properly.
No,
I
you
should have
did.
asked questions.
Never mind. Never
Just
mind.
tell me that although I've lost, it's still a nice train set. That's all I need to hear.
Yeah, it's not a bad train set. I think it's a nice idea. I think the choice of locomotive is a very good choice, particularly for O gauge. If you were trying to get into that, it's a good start. But obviously, it wasn't the OO Hornby I was expecting you to come out with. But
I'm really sorry. I'm sorry to everyone. I'm sorry to everyone out there because I
you,
really
you
did
you
misunderstand.
bathed yourself in glory in the last round. You'd done your homework for once. You actually come out triumphant, and then you just let yourself down.
Is it worse that the previous time we did a Fight Club, I didn't do my homework and failed miserably, or this time I did my homework but didn't actually listen to the fine print? Is that worse?
All you've done is just strengthen any case to argue that you also have ADHD. Attention to detail. No, he's not very good at that.
I did make a cracking train set though, guys. Just
Yeah,
it's
that's it.
never going
Yeah,
to be on the market and I've failed, but I made a good train set, all right?
you got the hyper focus part of that, but you decided you want to do O gauge, and that was it. It was right. I actually followed the rules, so obviously the brand left for me is OO gauge Bachmann. The theme is obviously industrial. And actually, if yours is industrial, it shouldn't be on a dock, should it? If it was LNER, because that's just them shunting.
Well, I can't really rename it What's Up Gasworks or something like that, can I? So
Why not?
What's Up Gasworks? The Wile E. Coyote gas like Acme bomb site or something like that.
Never mind.
See, I
Right.
took I genuinely took industrial to mean that I could do docks, but
Uh, it doesn't matter, does it? You
doesn't matter,
royally,
Sam. You didn't listen to what was said. All right.
royally screwed this round anyway. Right, industrial theme. I've called mine private exchange. So,
Ooh.
yes. And I've gone for, and this is why I was a bit worried that mine, but now I'm not worried. Because obviously, we're talking about a Premier train set. You usually think of the Pullman coaches with lights and a nice fancy loco and all that. And this is where I realised I'd sort of backed myself into a corner because I'd already used my Hornby card on the freight set, on the beginner set. And Hornby are really the only ones that cover industrial locomotives that you can use in a train set. Bachmann don't really do industrial locomotives, and that's why I found it's actually quite fun to put this together if you actually follow the rules, because you find that actually the flexibility of what you can and can't do makes it more of a game. So I've had to think about it, and I was like, the only way I can get around this is I'm going to have a pannier tank in National Coal Board livery. So that's what I did. And that's why it's called private exchange. So the whole idea of it is it would be the loop of track with additional sidings, which make out to be essentially an Inglenook shunting puzzle. So the layout could be set up as either, or you can just have the loop of track, have the shunting puzzle as part of the loop of track. Just you sit within the limits. And then on top of that, 7 wagons, if I recall. I may have got it wrong, but I've got 7 16-ton mineral wagons. National Coal Board tended to paint the numbers quite large on the side, so they'd all have different numbers. So you just have a numbering system to work out what order to put them in. So you could still do the Inglenook puzzle, and yeah, that was my Premier train set. And the only reason it made it so expensive is because of the amount of wagons that would go into it, with the additional track and components. So I think it worked out to be £327.28, which wasn't much more than the Returner train set. Um, but I was like, no, I'm going to stick with this. I think actually this would be quite a fun train set to own. It doesn't limit you if you model LNER, if you model LMS, if you model Southern or GWR, you can find whatever excuse to have this National Coal Board. I mean, technically, the Pioneer was with the National Coal Board after steam engine on the railways, but you still got that flexibility in there. So that's kind of why I went for it.
Cool. I really like it. I think it's a good train set. I like the fact that you have still got the looper track, but you've invested extra into more track. Because I feel like there's some train sets where if they just gave you two ovals, everything would be so much more interesting. And although you're not giving me two ovals, you've got the ovals plus a generous amount of sidings to go with it. So I really, really like that. So I think you've done a good job with that. Name 5. You've got a 5 on the name. That is a top out of all of them. That's your best name.
Thank you very much. I thought that was the weakest of my names, but yeah, no, I'll take that. I'll take that. So,
I think it's the way you said it. Private exchange. I kind of need Matt Berry to do private exchange kind of feel on it. No, it made me chuckle the most, and you know what I need with a train set, puns. I like the National Coalboard Pannier. I can't think of a time when it's ever been done in a train set.
no, I think only the London ones
Yeah.
got each train set, if I recall. Maybe we could be wrong, but I don't think National Coalboard Panniers made it. But yeah, again, it appeals to, if you like steam, you can get it, or if you model BR Blue, the panniers were still being used then in the exchange sidings to bring the wagons to the diesels. So
And what did you say the final price was for yours as well?
the final price was £327.28.
Which when you said it the first time, I was like, oh, that seems like a lot. But we're talking about an expert level train set, so maybe it isn't.
Yeah, with one locomotive and 7 wagons and extra track to do the shunting puzzle.
Yeah, you see, you've sold it on there. I think it's a big amount to begin with. But you know what? I think it's got a 5, mate. I'm giving it a 5 for cost. This is my favorite one so far. I thought my favorite was going to be the Class 47 one because I love 47s. I love large logo. I love parcels, and I thought that was the best one you could do. But actually, this one I feel like it encompasses all of the things that train sets sometimes lack, which is you've got the round and round, but you've also got the shunting aspect of it as well. And I think that's where you've really shone with this one. So I've given you 5, 4, 5 on this one, and it doesn't really matter because I broke the rules. But I mean, I'm always open to the criticisms of the out of 5 scoring system. So hit me. What you got?
Right, your pun name it's amusing. I'll give it a 4.
Thank you.
I think the components are quite good for a Premier train set. You've got the 3 wagons, you've got the shunter. Yeah, I for an O gauge with the track, got to be. Did you say you use flexi track in there?
Yeah, have because
that's the only thing that would concern me was as a train set. I try and stick to set track just because they're easier to put together, just in case you have got that customer that does have a lot of money but decided to start in the hobby and gets these flexi tracks and like, what the hell do I do with this?
that's a good point.
Got to cut it.
I think it's because the O gauge set track is really short compared to the length of flexi track, but the cost. I think for one piece of flexi track, you effectively have to buy 3 pieces of what's it called? 3 pieces of the set track, and it might even be more than that. And they're £10 each, whereas the flexi track is £13 each. So it was very much a case I was trying to argue the costing and the more availability on it. So maybe flexi track isn't a good choice for.
I say, because imagine the box as well. That's going to be a very big box.
Yeah, that's true. That would be a very big box. But you know what? Like you'd be excited seeing that under the Christmas tree.
You have to put the Christmas tree on it.
That's true. You would. So what did you say for components?
I think 3.5. I'm not keen on that flexi track.
And then cost?
Cost? How much was it again?
£521.
Well, for a Premier train set, that's absolutely fine. Do you know what? That's not bad for O gauge, I don't think. So 4.
Yeah, I'll take that. Considering I technically should have been disqualified, I will take that.
I know you're still disqualified.
You didn't have to say it. We could have gone a Fight Club where I didn't get disqualified for doping scandals. Cool. So that leaves you with round 3 as the winner before we head into our wildcard round?
Okay. Shall we go wildcard then?
Let's.
Right then, it's our wild card round. This is an anything goes, any components you like, whatever way you want. Sam, I reckon you've gone with 009.
Yeah, you cottoned onto me really well there. So yeah, I thought, do you know what? We've screamed and talked about how we want to see a 009 train set on the market. One of the best ways of trying to get train sets on the market is by making them have a particular theme to it. So I've gone for a 009 narrow gauge themed layout. And what I've tried to do is I've tried to sort of make it so that it's an affordable Christmas train set by using different brands that aren't necessarily the general manufacturers that we go to. So I'll talk you through what I've got. So you're going to hate this so much. So for the layout name or the train set name, it's Do They Narrow It's Christmas Time? Question mark.
Right.
I did my homework. Let's just remember, I did my homework. That's the main thing here. A for effort, F for actual accountability and actual reason. So track and controller is £60. Using the Pico Christmas wagons. I thought that would be nice, jolly, festive. They're lovely looking wagons. They're box wagons, which are some of my favorite rolling stock that you can get. They're £30 each, coming up at £90 for the 3 wagons. And then for the loco, I've gone for something that's a little bit off-piste, but it is still a narrow gauge loco. I've gone for the Mini Trains Industrial Diesel Loco in silver. Now, it's a nice, it's one of those European manufacturer locos. I think they look great, and I think it's one of the ones that you used to sort of see quite frequently on model railways before 009 became a little bit more widespread. But they only cost £110. So I thought that was a really good price to have with your Christmas train set. So a total of £260 for the train set with the discounted train set price of £234.
Not a bad price, I suppose. No, I'm confused why you've mixed manufacturers.
So it very much was a case of I probably should have just gone with really northern. I probably should have just gone with a Mini Trains train set, but I really liked the idea behind the Pico Christmas wagons, and because it was wildcard, I thought that there were basically no rules and you could do what you wanted. So, see, even when I do my homework, this is where we're sat.
I was going to say, I've got sort of like kind of keep everything in house, but okay.
I think I tried to bend the rules based on the fact that with Pico and Carto, they sort of fused together to form the Small England, and I've just taken a very, very big amount of artistic license for this one. But
Yeah.
it was
have Pico and Carto work together on producing it. So it makes sense why it comes in the train set with them. But
I nearly went for the
Mini
small
trains
England and the large England.
No
but
association with each other.
I nearly went for the small England and the large England, but I was like, the loco is going to be bigger than the actual wagons that it's pulling. So I was like, So I just went for a small little cute little diesel shunter that comes in narrow gauge format, and I thought it would make a nice train set for Christmas.
Okay, fair enough. I'm gonna have to Google what the mini train diesel looks like. I can't remember. I vaguely got an idea of which one you're referring to, but however, is a small little industrial. Yeah, I see it. Yeah, with the big motor sat in the cab.
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah, looks horrendous. I also went 009. I, however, kept everything in-house by using one manufacturer. Mine's called Frontlines, and the idea is it's a World War One themed train set using the Bachmann Baldwin locomotive, then the open wagon and closed van that also were part of the World War One rail stock which are also produced by Bachmann. So it's those long wheel-based open wagons and long wheel-based vans, one of each, and them obviously in military colours, with the standard track and controller. And I thought that this would be an appealing set. One, it's 009, and as we said, it would be nice to see 009 come in a train set. But the added advantage is with most 009 modelers, they tend to take locomotives and repaint them, and so you don't have to stick to that World War One theme, or you can just adapt the loco and the wagon to be part of a heritage railway or something like that. You can break away from that idea, but also to attract military modelers to the hobby by having this military themed train set that may then spark an interest in model railways and railway modelling. So that was kind of the thought behind mine. With all the components, it was coming in at £240.
Nice, you did a pretty good job with that, especially since you included a Bachmann loco as well.
I thought it just made sense that, if it's a train set being made by a company, they just use the components that they make. I like your Christmas one. I don't see what you mean by the vans. They're quite a little fun idea, and a little Christmas themed train set. Would you have? I suppose that train is 009 too small to have going around the tree. Is it going to get lost? Is it going to get stepped on? Where would you set it up?
It's difficult, isn't it? I don't know. Is the honest answer. I just thought it would be a nice little train set to contemplate having really on the layout.
Yeah, fair enough. What was it called? Just Christmas train set.
Do they narrow its Christmas
Oh
time?
yeah. I'd wiped it from my memory that quick.
I'm going to say that is my worst name out of all of them. But
No, they don't know it's Christmas. No, they're confused. They don't understand.
So for cost, I think you've done a fantastic job with what you got. 5 components. Maybe I'm biased because I'm really into narrow gauge at the moment, but I think a 5 on that one as well. A name 4. I can't give you a perfect score, I'm afraid.
What's wrong with front lines? It works in so many ways. It's like being on the front line, but lines like railway lines.
Not like a Christmas-based fun asking whether someone knows if narrow gauge exists. Go on then. Cost, what are you giving me?
Snow on the festini of this Christmas time. Yeah.
There'll be no presents down in Barla Lake this Christmas time.
Yeah.
Right, so cost, what you put in for mine?
How much was it?
£234.
And you get 3 wagons, yeah, and a diesel.
3 wagons
So
and a diesel.
Horrible looking diesel. I'll give it 4.
Thank you. And the components?
Confusingly, different manufacturers keeps throwing me, but yeah, 4.
I genuinely, I was expecting a 2, so I would take a 4. And the name?
You've got to ask me to score the name. Yeah. I hate that song.
Yeah, do you know what? I actually hate it too. I think, but for some reason, it's all I could think of when I was trying to think of naming this set.
So you've reminded me of the song I hate. I hate that song.
In February as
it's
well.
nothing worse than multi-millionaire pop stars preaching at me that I should be helping some poor people when I'm struggling to pay for Christmas presents myself. So it's a 0 for the name.
You know what? Totally worth it. Cool. So I think, James, that means you are 3-1 on this Fight Club. Quite an enjoyable Fight Club, I found. And we give a lot of grief to the different manufacturers on what they should and shouldn't be doing. But you know what? It's really tough to make a decent price train set.
It is, yeah. I think that's what we've come to learn, hasn't it? Do you know what? It's all well and dandy sitting there slagging Hornby off or going, oh, look at that. It was one of those train sets with one of those crappy wagons. And do you know what? It's really hard to make a train set and keep it in a reasonable, justifiable cost. So kudos to the manufacturers, I say.
Yeah, there we go.
That's our Fight Club done. We're going to have to think up with something new for the next Fight Club. This is going to start getting out of hand, isn't it?
Hopefully not too much. Enough that you want us to keep doing it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think I've got an idea. Maybe we can try and work out a narrow gauge one. I'm not sure how we do it, but we'll look into it. Anyway, we're going to take a short break and we'll come back after this. Hello there, dear listener. We thought we'd just take a moment to talk to you about our Patreon. For the last few weeks, Sam has been putting out an advert impersonating David Attenborough, trying to entice you to give us your money. And you were right not to do it. But now we ask you from the bottom of our hearts to follow us on Patreon.
If you do want to support us in what we do and you believe that what we do is good enough that you want a part of your money, you can find us on Patreon and you can start donating for as little as $1 a month. It's in dollars, it's in freedom credits, however you want to say it, but eventually it will just take the pounds from your bank account. And if you do want to support James and myself, head on over to Patreon. There's varying levels and tiers that you can do. And there's even a tier where I'll weather stuff for you and James gets the benefit of it. So why not support us on Patreon today?
Indeed. And that way we can get new microphones so you can stop complaining that you can't hear us. Well, that was our Design a Train Set Fight Club. I just can't believe that it ended like that, but there we go. Right then, Sam, it's exhibition diary time, and we're starting earlier in the week for this coming week because on Wednesday, the 19th, the Beckenham and West Wickham Model Railway Club is having a free open day. It's at the St George's Church Hall on the 25 to 27 Albemarle Road in Beckenham, Kent. So it's a free open day. Venture along if you like. No time mentioned there, actually. So maybe just have a quick look for details if people are interested in that one, because obviously being on a Wednesday, I'd assume in the evening, but maybe it's, as it says, an open day. Maybe it's all day. Then we're on Friday the 21st. So people really sort of moving outside of that weekend box at West Midlands Narrow Gauge Group. It's their February group meeting at the Four Oaks Methodist Church at 155 Lynchfield Road, Sutton Coldfield, West Midlands. Following that, Friday 21st to Sunday the 23rd, the Association of Model Railway Societies in Scotland, Model Rail Scotland. So this is probably one of the biggest shows of the year, following Doncaster, I suppose. Donny being the first one, this one's the second one. It's at the Scottish Event Campus, Exhibition Way, Glasgow, Lanarkshire. Do you know what? It's a show I've always wanted to go to. It's just a little bit too far to get to. Following that, Saturday the 22nd is the Falmouth Society of Railway Modellers Open Day at St Mary's Catholic Church Hall in Kilgrew Street, Falmouth, Cornwall. The Saturday 22nd also sees the Risborough District Model Railway Club RISX 2025 at the Community Centre, Wades Park, Stratton Road, Princes Risborough, Buckinghamshire. We've also got the Ken Avon, I think it's the Kennet and Avon combined, Railway Society. It's at the Ken Avon East Reading Exhibition 2025 of the Warehouse, 1A Cumberland Road, Reading, Berkshire. I think it's about a 15-minute walk from the train station if you're looking to go on that one. And it's in support of the Cholsey and Wallingford Railway as well. So all good reasons to go to that. Saturday the 22nd also sees the Heart of England Narrow Gauge Modellers having their monthly meeting at the 22nd Rugby Scout Hut at the Kent Hill Morton Rugby, Warwickshire. For the whole weekend. Are you going to be at this one, Sam? It's 22nd to 23rd. Portsmouth RailX 2025 exhibition.
No,
Technical College, Barton Cross, Horndean in Hampshire.
I'm not. Sadly, previous few years, it's been a really nice show to go to. I'm gutted I can't go, but I would urge anyone who gets the chance to pop along.
I just asked if you're going to be there or not. We didn't need your love story. It's fine. That's a shame. Never mind. Right, 22nd to 23rd, Lincoln and District Model Railway Club Model Railway Exhibition in Folkestone Village Hall, Ferry Road, Lincoln, Lincolnshire. The Ashford Model Railway Club is also meeting that weekend at the 2025 Turton Model Railway Exhibition at the Homewood School, Ashford Road in Tetton, Kent. The Ebor Group of Railway Modellers, York against Cancer Model Rail-X 2025 at the Holy Trinity Church in Melrose Gate, Haworth, York, North Yorkshire. And Sunday the 23rd is Ikeston Woolside Model Railway Club 22nd Annual Model Railway Exhibition, Henor Miners Welfare at Ikeston Road, Henor, Derbyshire. So that's the exhibitions for all this weekend, and as we found out, Sam won't be making it to the Portsmouth show, which is obviously a shame. But that's the way the cookie crumbles, I suppose. At least he ain't got as bad as me. I mean, my roster's proper against me for the majority of the shows this year, but there we go. We'll just have to see what the future holds, and maybe I can get a different job with a different roster. Right, YouTube shout-out time. Who have you got this week, Sam?
So, like yourself last week, I'm going off piece and I'm going to Instagram. So this account is going to be Idsworth Holt. That's Idsworth_Holt on Instagram. So this is a friend of mine, Mark, new to Instagram for his hobby content. He's actually a driver for Southwestern Railways, and turns out he lives literally just around the corner from me. But he's just started his new 00 gauge project. He's building a sort of a small shunting layout in his house, and I'm really enjoying seeing the progress. And I think you should follow along too to see the progress. So that's Mark at Idsworth_Holt on Instagram.
There we are. Excellent stuff. Right then, mine is the Ambleford Junction Model Railway, which is a lovely selection of videos of, I think mostly Great Western themed. Looks Great Western themed. They're just running session videos. None of this, how I built my layout, anything like that. Just running session videos. Good running session videos. Lots of things going on. Various locomotives. Always a pleasure to watch. It's one of those, is it ASMR, whatever they call it, type videos? You just got, if you put it on the background, you just got the clickety clack of the trains running over the track. Kind of thing. So that's my shout out for this week. Are we giving the T-shirt away this week? Is that happening, or is it next week?
No, it is not this week that the T-shirt giveaway is going to be happening. So this episode comes out on Monday, the 17th of February. You do still have time to enter our Instagram competition or our Patreon version of the competition in order to win yourself a Model Rail Replacement Podcast T-shirt. So this competition is going to be closing on Monday, the 24th of February, and James and I will announce the winner on the show that airs on the 3rd of March. So if you're not aware of this, on Instagram, we are running a competition where you can win the first ever Model Rail Replacement Podcast T-shirts. And there is an additional chance of winning that if you sign up to our Patreon before the end of the month as well. One question that has been asked to me is, are these T-shirts going to be available to the general public? And the answer is yes. But we will not be making them public until all of the competition winners have received their T-shirts first. We want them to feel extra super special. So yeah, that's our competition ending on Monday the 24th of February.
We could always sign the T-shirt and feel like real celebrities, couldn't we? And make them feel real special, or just feel like we've just ruined a perfectly good T-shirt.
I was going to say, mine in your handwriting, me being left-handed, end up smudging my autograph across the actual T-shirt.
You're left-handed. He's a witch.
We're not going down a history podcast route on this. Let's move on.
I know we could sneak into that one, wouldn't we? See how far we get on the charts on there.
Oh, let's try. Let's see if AI picks this up. So, did you know that whenever they were besieging a tower, the way a tower is designed with its spiral in a castle, it was always designed so that it went upwards in a clockwise manner, so that if you were a right-handed person attacking the castle, you wouldn't have the room to swing your sword arm out. But if you were right-handed and you were coming down defending the castle, you had enough room to swing your arm. So that's why you always sent a left-handed person up when besieging a castle first, because they would surprise the enemy by having the room to swing their arm out to stabby.
I love how all our British history involves just killing each other, because I learned the other day that the reason that we travel on the wrong side of the road, as the Americans like to say, is actually because when you were passing each other on horses and you needed to strike them with a sword, it was a lot easier to draw your sword out and strike them if you were traveling on the left-hand side of the road. So, yeah, British history, it's just about murdering each other.
There we go. You've been listening to the British Rail History Replacement podcast.
Yeah. We could cover history, I suppose, in a sort of way. Maybe as special Patreon episodes or something. I don't know. Something to discuss about in the future. But for now, all I'm going to say is that we've gone off tangent, but hopefully it was still entertaining, informative, and replaced your model railway. The last bit definitely did. If only just for a little bit. I've been James, and with me has been Sam. Thanks for listening.
I guess we're not doing our social media shout-outs then.
This service terminates here. Please ensure you take all of your personal belongings with you.